Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you are having a good day. I hope you had a good day yesterday, and I hope you do have a good day today. Wanted to do a little video this morning, talking about something that I thought would be quite interesting. I thought I would do a video talking about the homeless today. So obviously there are, hundreds of thousands of people living on the streets, every day. And the one thing that I think always gets to me when it comes to the homeless is the fact that, there are people out there who, are so quick to judge people that are in that situation. And I just feel like people shouldn't be so quick to judge those that are homeless because they could be in that situation themselves one day. It's like me. I never like judging anyone that's homeless because I know that I could be, in that position myself one day, and I like to help the homeless because, hopefully one day, I would hope that if I was ever homeless, if I was ever in that situation, I would hope that people would help me as well. So, obviously, you think about, it's like you should never judge a homeless person because you don't know what they've been through in life. You don't know what their circumstances are, what's led to them being on the streets, Because there could be many different reasons for why someone has ended up on the streets. I feel like people are always so quick to assume that it's something to do with drugs or alcohol or something like that. But it's not always to do with that, and people shouldn't always make that kind of assumption that it is to do with drugs and alcohol, because it's not always to do with that. Just because someone's homeless it doesn't automatically mean that person's a drug addict or an alcoholic, which is the assumption that it feels like people are always so quick to make, that every homeless person is a drug addict or alcoholic, which not all of them are. And I think people need to realise that, people need to stop being so quick to make those kind of assumptions. Because making assumptions like that about somebody isn't fair. And they don't deserve that. No homeless person deserves to be judged, in any particular way. I often go up to Stratford, and there used to be a lot of homeless people around up there, especially outside of Stratford Station. I remember when I went up there yesterday, there didn't seem to be too many homeless people there yesterday, and I've noticed that the last few times that I've been up to Stratford, I've noticed that there weren't too many homeless people around up there. So I don't know if maybe they've been told to move on now, and then maybe they've been told to go and sit somewhere else or sleep somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know I don't know what's going on there, but. The only one that I noticed was there was a woman, there was an Asian woman sitting outside the old Stratford shopping centre. That was the only homeless person I noticed yesterday. I don't know if there was anybody sitting on the bridge that goes over to Westfield, or I should say outside Westfield, because I didn't go that way. I didn't go up there yesterday because I didn't have a reason to go up there. I remember a few months ago, I went up to Westfield a few months ago. It was on a Monday. The day after it was actually the day after me and my uncle went up to Manchester for the Manchester United game. And I tried to buy one of my Man United shirts in the Mega store, but I wasn't able to buy it because it was hard only. You couldn't pay with cash or anything, and we didn't have it hard on us, so we only had cash, so we weren't able to buy anything. So, and I wasn't obviously able to buy my shirt, which is what I've been planning on doing. Unfortunately, a lot of things there was a few things that we planned on doing that day, but didn't get to do. Because of timing and all that kind of thing, and different circumstances. But obviously, so I decided the following, so I still had that money on me that I hadn't spent the day before, so I decided that on the Monday morning, I was going to shoot up to Stratford and actually buy it and get my shirt up there, which is what I did. So I went up there on the Monday morning, and I came up the step. I was coming up the steps to go over the bridge to Westfield, and as I came up the steps, I noticed there was a gentleman sat on the bridge. I'd say he was late 30s, early 40s, and I could see that he was holding a picture, but I couldn't see what the picture was of at first, as I was a bit too far away. Once I actually got up to the top of the stairs and got onto the bridge, I was able to see what the picture was that he was holding, and it was a picture of a sick child. And he was obviously trying to get people to give him money for, claiming he had a claiming he had a sick child to try and get people to give him money. And to be honest, I was gonna give him some money. I sort of decided that that once I'd done everything I needed to do in Westfield and come out of Westfield, if he was still there, I was gonna give him some money. And I went about what I did. I went to do what I needed to do in Westfield, but when I came back out of the shopping centre, he wasn't there. I don't know if he'd moved on of his own accord, or if he voluntarily, or if he'd been told to move on by someone. I don't know. But obviously, when I was on the train back, I started to think, well, actually, maybe it wasn't a bad idea that I hadn't actually given him money. At the end of the day, I don't have a problem with, homeless people asking people for spare change, or if they have signs that say, please spare any change or something like that. That's not a problem. I don't have a problem. I don't have an issue with that. But I just don't agree with the fact that that guy was holding a picture of a sick child to try and get people to give him money. I feel like you have to be some kind of, some serious sort of messed up to think that was an acceptable and appropriate thing to do. To be holding up a picture of a sick child. And that really did put me in a bit of a bad mood that day. And I was like, why would you do that? Why would you use a picture of a sick child to get people to give you money? I mean, I've seen a lot of homeless people out and about, when I've been out on my travels. But I've never hardly seen any homeless people holding up pictures of sick kids to try and get people to give them money, which is what this guy was doing. And he obviously didn't think he was doing anything wrong by doing that, but it was actually quite shameful. I mean, I don't even know for definite if it was actually his child. I mean, it could have just been a picture of some random sick child. It might not necessarily have even been his child that was in the picture, but you just don't know. I know that, I mean, I do like to give some homeless people some money, every now and then. And I know a lot of people will say, well, that's not a good idea, and, you shouldn't be giving homeless people money, but... if it helps them, it helps them. I guess. I just feel like I like to do a good thing. And help people out, but to help out those people that are in need, and help out those people that, and to show the homeless that there are actually decent people out there who care about the homeless, and actually respect the homeless. Want to help the homeless and won't just ignore them and walk past them like they don't exist. I mean, there was another woman. I remember there was another woman. And I don't like to doubt homeless people or think the worst of them, but I mean, there was one I met there up until about a few months ago. No, not more than that. There was a woman who used to sit outside the Stratford shopping centre, and she always used to be sat there with a dog. Now, obviously, as I said, I don't like to think the worst of homeless people, but this woman in particular, I always got the vibe, I don't know why, but I always got the vibe from her that she wasn't actually homeless, like she wasn't as homeless as she was making herself out to be. Like, that's what, I don't know why, but that's just the vibe I always got from her. I always thought that, there was, it's like, yeah, most of the time I will give a homeless person money. But I wasn't gonna give her any money because I kept getting that vibe that she wasn't actually homeless. I kept getting that vibe that she was actually like that maybe she was lying a little bit and that she wasn't as homeless as she was making herself out to be. And obviously I don't think that about it. I don't make that kind of. I don't get that vibe with every single homeless person. I don't think that about every homeless person. I don't make that assumption that every homeless person is faking it and isn't actually homeless. But it was just, that woman in particular. I just kept getting that vibe. Like, I don't know why, but I just kept getting that vibe that she wasn't actually homeless as such. And I don't know why I kept getting that vibe, but I did. I mean, obviously, I never actually had any proof that she was actually faking it, but I just feel like there were, to me, like things, there was, it felt like there was more to it. With her, there always felt like there was something more to it than meets the eye. Like, I definitely didn't get the vibe that she was, that she was actually 100% genuinely homeless. I never ever got that vibe from this particular woman. But most homeless people, I don't think that about. As I said, I don't think that about every homeless person. I'll make that assumption about every homeless person. But she, that's just one person who I thought was faking it. To be honest, I remember there used to be a young girl who used to hang about around here. Now, she used to be, she was in, I would say, mid to late 20s at the most. She won't be any older, been any older than that, any older than mid to late 20s. Now, we never really knew what her real name was, although someone did say that her real name was Healy, but I don't know if that's true. But I think everyone gave her the nickname Babe Have You Got a Pound because she always used to come up to people and say, Babe, have you got a pound? Now, she was a bit quite nasty sometimes. I remember when, she went up to some woman one day and asked the woman if she had a pound or whatever, and the woman said no, and she punched the woman in the face. There was another time where a guy actually went into Percy and Ghouls, and he actually got her a hot drink and I think it was I can't remember what it was, like an 8 or whatever, and he went to give it to her and she went, no, I don't want that, I want money. She started getting a bit greedy as well. She started, first off she was asking people for a pound. And then one day she went up to my mum and was like, oh, have you got a fiver? And then, and I was like, that's a bit, I felt like she had a bit of a cheat to even ask that, why, if you're homeless, fair enough, but why if you're homeless, why would you ask somebody for a fiver? Why would you expect somebody to give you that amount of money, to give you a fiver? You can't be asking that. You can't be expecting people to do that. Yeah, if people are generous enough, they might do that. If people are actually generous enough, they might actually do that. It's like, she started to become a real menace in the end. She started to become like a real pain in the backside and a real nuisance. And I know she wasn't trying to be, but that was how it was in the end. I don't know what happened to her. I've not heard about her for years. The last I heard about Babe Have You Got a Pound, she was like begging. She used to be begging outside what used to be the West Ham Stadium in Upton Park, but I don't know where she is now because obviously the Upton Park Stadium's not there anymore. So I don't even know if she's even still alive at this point. If she's off the streets now, or whatever, but I hope she is. I hope that, I hope that in the end, I hope she was able to turn, I know that she was, she was a pain in the arse, but I do still hope that she was able to turn her life around and was able to kind of get her life back on track in some particular way. I mean, I used to think that, I used to kind of, think it was a bad idea to give her money because whenever you gave her money, instead of going and buying food or whatever, she would always go and buy hands of drink, hands of alcohol, drink, hands of cider and things like that. So it probably wasn't a good idea to be giving her money, but the thing is, not every homeless person will do that. Not every homeless person, if you give them money, is gonna go and buy alcohol with it or buy drugs with it. And that's the assumption. That's what people will say. People will say, "Oh, you shouldn't give a homeless person money because they'll just go and buy drugs and alcohol with it." But you can't make that assumption about every single homeless person because not every single homeless person is gonna do that. Not every single homeless person is gonna go out there and buy. If you give them money, he's gonna go and give them drugs and alcohol, go and buy drugs and alcohol with that. It's like I feel like people make so many unfair assumptions about the homeless, and I know a lot of people say, "Well, I've made that unfair assumption about the woman that used to sit outside the Stratford shopping centre with the dog." But I don't think that was that was an unfair assumption, to be honest. I know I certainly don't think I was the only one who actually got that vibe. I think there were a few people who didn't, who actually got that vibe as well, and had suspected that she wasn't actually 100% homeless. As I said, that guy that was out on the bridge the other month. That really did piss me off. I was thinking to myself, why would you hold up a picture of a sick child, thinking people are going to give you money? No one, there ain't no one that's going to be dumb enough to fall for that. It ain't going to happen. They want people to, he wants people to give him money, fair enough, but don't hold up a picture of a sick child, thinking that people are going to give you money. That ain't going to happen. People ain't gonna give you. People ain't gonna do that. You really want people to give you money, then perhaps maybe you shouldn't really be. Perhaps maybe you should be holding up pictures of sick kids. People are gonna be giving you money. Is it ain't gonna work? I mean, I know that homeless people will use different tactics. Sometimes they'll fake it. They'll fake it being their birthday or whatever. That's not. I don't feel like that's such a bad thing. Lying about it being your birthday. I mean, that's not a major thing. It's not the worst thing in the world. But holding up pictures of sick kids, that is disgusting. And that's quite a shameful and quite a pathetic thing to do to try and get people to give you money. Seriously, I mean, I have respect for the majority of homeless people, but when someone is doing something like that, I really don't respect that person. There's no justification for holding up holding up a picture of a sick kid to try and get people to give you money. That is probably one of the most despicable things anyone can ever do. I mean, yeah, you want to make money, but don't hold up a picture of a sick kid and then expect people to give you money. There's people that don't fall for that. People are too, these days, people have too much common sense to fall for a tactic like that. I really think that a lot of these homeless people need to kind of up their game now with their tactics, because a lot of the tactics they use to try and get people to give them money are just not working. To be fair, let's face it. I mean, that alone, that was never going to work. Holding up a picture of a sick kid, that was never going to work. People were never going to fall for that. And, unfortunately there were some people that maybe did fall for that. But, it's hard to, sympathise with people when they with a person that thinks it's okay to do something like that. there's no excuses for that. There's no justifications for doing something like that. It's just a really kind of sitting in thing to do. Especially when you're trying to get people to give you money. It's like, do something else. Don't do something as bad as that. If I'm being honest. As I said, most homeless people are pretty good. Which is why I don't agree with the fact that homeless people are always being told to move along. I feel like if they're not causing any trouble, if they're not causing any problems, then they should be able to sit wherever they want or sleep wherever they want. The police should only be telling them to move along if they're actually causing trouble or if they're causing a nuisance. If they're not doing that, then why should they have to move along? If they're not causing trouble or they're not causing a nuisance, why should they have to move along? Why should they have to go and sit somewhere else? Why should they have to go and sleep somewhere else? It's like, it's actually, it's completely and utterly wrong. I do sometimes it does get to me when I think about these people that have served throughout the country and they're having to sleep on the streets. And you've got all these immigrants that are coming over and they're basically being given free houses like that. Yeah, you've got these people that serve throughout the country that aren't even that are having to sleep on the streets. It's the people that have served throughout the country that deserve housing more than these immigrants that keep coming over. They're the ones that should, I feel like that's the least they deserve, considering the fact they have served for our country. They're the sort of people who deserve to be given respect. It has to be said. Like, the thing is with the homeless, it's like, you don't always necessarily have to give them money. I mean, sometimes just having somebody just stop in and having a conversation with them is enough to really make their day and actually cheer them up and make them happy, And I feel like they think no one's going to stop and talk to them or no one's going to give them the time of day. And I just think it would be nice, it's nice for the homeless to know that there are some people out there that give a damn about the homeless and actually want to give the homeless the time of day. I think, I feel like with some people, I feel like they think they're too good to give people money. I think that the attitude some people have is like, why should I give a homeless person any money? Or why should I stop to talk to a homeless person? I feel like we can actually learn a lot from the homeless, and I think, one day, those people that have been, I hope that one day those people that judge the homeless or treat the homeless in such a horrible way, and in such a vile, disgusting way, I hope they one day they're made to realise, how difficult it is for the people that are in that kind of situation, and why I hope they're made to realise why it's actually important to respect the homeless. I hope one day they end up in that situation themselves, and then they might then the shoes will be on the other foot. As I said, people should respect the homeless because one day they could be in that situation. So don't be judging the homeless. When you yourself would be in that situation, and you wouldn't want people judging you if you were in that situation. It's just completely and utterly wrong. And at least use tactics that aren't so bad, like, just say, can you spare any change? You don't necessarily need to use any kind of tactics to let people to give you money. Just have the courtesy to ask people if they have any spare change. That's the best thing to do. Don't be holding up pictures of sick kids thinking people are going to give you money. Because it don't work like that. People ain't gonna fall for that, as I said. And what that guy did, what that guy was doing that day, holding that picture of a sick kid, was that even his child? That's the thing. Like, was that, that's what I'm thinking is, like, was that even his child? in the picture, or was it just some random sick child that he was showing it, or was it just a picture of some random sick child? As it wouldn't have surprised me if it was the picture of a random sick child. You know, this is the thing, you can't automatically assume that that was actually his child, as there is that chance it wasn't his child, it wasn't actually his child, you know. And that makes it even worse if it was a picture of a random sick child that he was showing and it wasn't actually his child. You know, and I think that, you know, that you knew there was something dodgy about him. I mean, it just seemed a bit weird how, so I was only in the shopping in Westfield for about 45 minutes. And when I came back out, he disappeared off. So I'm guessing he maybe disappeared off himself because he realised people weren't going to give him any money, as people weren't going to fall for the tactic that he was using. People weren't going to fall for the whole sick child act that he was playing. I mean, that whole sick child act is just so pathetic. Did he really think people would be dumb enough to? I mean, yeah, maybe some people would be dumb enough or stupid enough to fall for something like that, but most people wouldn't be that daft. You know, seriously, that's what I'm saying. Most people wouldn't be that daft to fall for something like that. You know, to fall for a tactic like that, to be honest. You know, I feel like he obviously had no shame. As if, you know, he obviously didn't think he was doing anything wrong. But seriously, that is bad. To be holding up a picture of a sick child, thinking people are going to give you money, that is awful. And it's such a vile, disgusting thing to do. And it's a really scummy thing to do as well. Especially when you're trying to get people to give you money. Like, use something else. Don't be using pictures of sick kids to try and do that, man. Come on. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just saying that he shouldn't be doing things like that. You know, as simple as that. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video anyway. I thought I would do a nice video this morning talking about my thoughts on the homeless and, you know, talking about some of my experiences with the homeless. I hope you enjoyed this one and I'll see you. I mean, yeah, that's all I need to say. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you for another one very soon. Bye bye.